Film genre, thriller. These are types of films known to promote intense excitement, suspense, a high level of anticipation, ultra-heightened expectation, and uncertainty, anxiety, and nerve-wracking tension. The tension usually arises when the main character/characters is placed in a menacing situation or a dangerous mission, etc. Thriller films conventionally have a conflict between the protagonist and antagonist characters to make the films more exciting. Other conventions include low-key lighting, quick cuts, sinister music, and abandoned locations. What I like about thriller films is that they have exciting storylines, quick cuts, strong protagonist and antagonist characters to show the contrast, and I love the use of low-key lighting, as I think it portrays like certain characters in a sinister way because there's like shadows on them. What I dislike about thriller films is sometimes they're too dark, like you can't really see what's going on. Another thing that I dislike about thriller films is some of them have really unoriginal storylines, like they all seem to follow the same plot, and every couple of years you have the same plot but different actors and done by a different director. Favourite examples from the genre would be Seven, The Silence of the Lambs, The Hunger Games, Maze Runner, The Ward, After Earth, and Black Swan. Crime films are developed around the sinister actions of criminals or mobsters who operate outside the law, stealing and murdering their way through life. Criminal films are often categorised as detective mystery films because of the underlying similarities between these cinematic forms. This category includes a description of various serial killer films. Crime films are conventionally about the protagonist character, normally a detective or private contractor, looking for the antagonist character, who is usually a criminal or gangster. They often have quick cuts and an exciting storyline to keep the audience interested as it builds suspense. What I like about crime films is that they are interesting and they have very complicated storylines which keeps you on the edge of your seat and interested in watching the film. I feel like they have very exciting action scenes. They normally have very exciting characters which are quite mysterious. What I dislike about the crime genre is that they occasionally have dull storylines and they kind of focus more on the violence rather than the storyline, so then it kind of lacks. And they're also sometimes confusing, sometimes they're way too complex, you don't know what's going on. Examples of crime films would be Goodfellas, The Departed, Seven, Heat, LA Confidential, The Usual Suspects, Chinatown, The Long Good Friday, No Country for Old Men, and True Detective. Dramas are serious, plot-driven presentations portraying realistic characters, settings, life situations and stories involving intense character development and interaction. Usually they are not focused on special effects, comedy or action. Dramatic films are probably the largest film genre with many subsets. Drama films conventionally have real-life situations, realistic characters, settings and stories. They also usually portray the character's development. Dramatic storylines' main purpose is normally to move the audience emotionally. What I like about drama films is that they have emotional and engaging storylines. They're also very realistic storylines and characters so that the audience can relate more to it. That's why it's more emotional, because they can relate on a personal level. What I dislike about dramas is that sometimes they have very long-winded storylines. A Girl Like Her, Joy, Creed, The Revenant, The Walk, and Miss You Already. Comedies are light-hearted plots, consistently and deliberately designed to amuse and provoke laughter by exaggerating the situation, the language, action, relationships and characters. They normally provoke laughter by telling jokes or using one-liners. Comedy films are conventionally set in bright places, have diegetic jokes with purpose to make the audience laugh, bright natural lighting, props that can be used to hurt a character, for example a slapstick, and dark humour jokes. Romance films are about romantic love stories that focus on passion, emotion, and the affectionate romantic involvement of the main characters, and the journey that their genuinely strong, true and pure romantic love takes them through. Romance films conventionally have a voiceover to introduce the love theme, usually aimed at female audiences. Conventional storylines include characters separating and then reuniting at the end. Usually, they are quite emotional, either cheerful or sad. What I like about romance films is they have quite emotional storylines, like they're always cheerful at the start, and then in the middle when they break up it's quite sad and emotional, but then it's always cheerful at the end when they get back together. What I dislike about romance films is sometimes they have quite cringy and unrealistic storylines, and they are occasionally boring as they're long-winded and unrealistic. LOL, The Notebook, Me Before You, The Last Song, 50 First Dates. Action films usually include high energy, big budget, physical stunts and chases, probably with rescues, battles and fights in. They often have very rich and intense storylines to keep the audience interested in watching the film. Action films also have a very fast pace and often use quick cuts to do this. Action films are usually about a conflict between the antagonist and protagonist character. Action films conventionally have an antagonist and protagonist characters battling against each other, as the audience find this more interesting. Other conventions include quick cuts, fast-paced fights, battles, weapons, and sometimes gore. What I like about the action genre is that they have very exciting storylines and a lot of on-screen action. I also like that a lot of action films have quite original storylines, like ones that you haven't seen and they're not normally remade. What I dislike about this genre would be that it's normally targeted towards males. Another thing I dislike about this genre is that occasionally the storyline is all about violence and it just bases the whole thing around violence and doesn't have like a genuine and interesting storyline. Examples of action films would be The Avengers, Deadpool, X-Men, Captain America, The Terminator, Kick-Ass and Sherlock Holmes. Horror films are designed to frighten and invoke our hidden worst fears, often in a terrifying, shocking finale while captivating and entertaining us at the same time in a scary experience. Horror films feature a wide range of styles, from the earliest silent classics to today's CGI monsters and deranged humans. Horror films conventionally have a protagonist and an antagonist character in them. They also conventionally have child actors, low-key lighting, thrilling and exciting storylines, loud sounds and quick cuts. What I like about the horror genre is that they have thrilling and sinister storylines which keep you on the edge of your seats at all time. They're also quite jumpy. What I dislike about the horror genre is that sometimes the stories are quite boring and unscary, and due to the fact that horror genres are supposed to make you jump or scream, sometimes directors solely base on that and don't have an interesting storyline to back it up. Examples of horror films would be The Woman in Black, The Purge, Insidious, The Conjuring and Paranormal Activity. Musicals and dance films are cinematic forms that emphasise full-scale scores or songs and dance routines in a significant way, or they are films that are centred on combinations of music, dance, song or choreography. Musicals stereotypically have singing with no explanation, happy endings, protagonist character has a dream, usually involving show business, and a romantic subplot or main plot. What I like about musicals is that they're very cheerful and have very happy storylines, and that there's always a happy ending. Although what I dislike about this genre is sometimes they're quite cheesy and very unrealistic. For example, the singing for no reason. Examples of musicals would be High School Musical, Sound of Music, Wizard of Oz, and Beauty and the Beast.